Hello and welcome to the State of the Arts. My name is Mick and I'm your host here for the show. I'm not sure who you were expecting, but here I am. Nobody else wants to do this because we're not getting paid. Let me introduce you our guest today. This ambitious woman holds a master's degree in dance and movement education. She also holds 2 undergrad degrees in political science and teaching. She has several teaching credits, including Western, Fanshawe, and some time up at Lake Superior State University. Go Lakers. She's recently embarked on a solo art project, and she's carved out some time of her very busy schedule to have a sit-down chat with me today. Welcome, please, Miranda Wickett.
Hi. Hi, Mick. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good.
You're always smiley.
I am.
Yeah, it's just one of those natural kind of flips on you. Your smile is always on, and I love it. That's great. So look, let's jump into it because I feel like you've got some stuff to say here today.
Me?
Yeah.
Things to say?
Never.
Yeah, I don't shut up. That's the problem.
that's why I was excited to have you on the show today. So, look, let's talk about your current work and body positivity specifically. I spent a lot of time trying to come up with something kind of pithy here to describe kind of what it is, and I kind of fell into some old traps from kind of a middle-aged kind of a guy. So why don't you let our listeners in on it? I've got you've got Underpinnings with Mimi on Instagram, and you've also got a solo website withmimi.com. All right,
the com, I'm not sure if it belongs to me, but the CA definitely
CA. Okay,
yeah.
We'll fix that up. That's an easy one. I'll put the links in the below so everybody can click to it. So, what's it all about?
Okay, so I have a very difficult relationship with my body. When I was growing up, I felt like I wasn't supposed to be there, right? I was a dancer, and I grew up in front of a mirror for a very long time of my growing years, and I started to develop really early. So I was also in a class of 18 boys and 3 to 5 girls through elementary school. So
minority.
Yeah, and the other girls were awesome and wonderful, and it was a great way to grow up. But their bodies didn't change in the same way at the same rate that mine did. So I really tried to hide a lot of the time. I tried to bind my body because my breasts started to grow early. Of course, that was a no-no in the dance space because I was supposed to look like a ballerina. I was supposed to look thin, and I was supposed to be a certain way. When my body changed, there were a lot of comments about it, both actual comments, verbal comments, and then also the way that I was portrayed in some of the dances. I was the big girl, the tall girl. I was in the back. I was either trying to be hidden or I was a joke where I would lift the boys because the boys were smaller than I was. And so that even, not said out loud to a child, you feel that. So there was that portion of my life. And then also growing up as a Catholic girl, I was made to feel like pleasure was not supposed to be for me, and I was supposed to be baby making. Right, this was my goal in life, which I also didn't really feel super connected with. But the idea of faith and community was really beautiful. So that was a difficult kind of area to reel into. We're getting deep real quick on the very beginning here.
Yep.
But so there was a host of things happening in my childhood that really impacted me. And then when I became a mom, I went, oh my God, the first thing when I found out it was a girl, like when I was still pregnant and I found out it was a girl, I went, oh my God, she's going to get her period. She's going to become a woman. She's going to have to deal with all the stuff
flashbacks
thrown
almost
at us, you know? And as she grew, I started to really realize, oh my God, I've got to make some changes. I've got to do some real work on myself because kids know when you're being authentic.
Oh, yes.
So that was really, really a big part of my life to be like, okay, I got to really figure out what my faith looks like. I got to figure out what my relationship to my body and to my sexuality looks like. I've got to just figure these things out. And then also my grandmother, when I was probably 21, 22, she passed away because of breast cancer. And of course, her generation of people, they were told good girls don't touch themselves, right? So there was no self-examination. There wasn't this kind of support for women. And right now, and it's rising, 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer within their lifetime, which is this really scary statistic, especially because it is going up. And of course, they're unsure why everything is going up, but we don't have a lot of medical support in our female spaces. Not female spaces, women's spaces.
Yes.
I want to be very specific.
This is kind of what I definitely felt that I was falling into describing something into something, and I just felt like it was better to let you do that for me. Because
it's tricky.
Yeah.
Figuring out how to support and how to be an ally and use language differently.
Yes.
So I just want to make sure that everyone with chests is basically who I work with now, which is everyone.
Yeah.
But so this work was born out of these situations of my life, and then also making other people feel strong and confident. And positivity is not always where we're going to go. Like I wish that we were all body positive, but the truth is, like, body neutrality is a beautiful area to be in. I kind of call mine body acceptance, because it doesn't, it's really hard to be positive all the time and to have body positivity. We're not always going to have the best days.
It's tiring.
It's exhausting, and like, it's a meat suit that we live in, right? So I just, we want to deal with the stuff in the heart, and we want to deal with being able to be comfortable in this thing that we float around the globe with.
24/7.
Yeah. Because it's not really, it's nothing that we've done to receive it. It's just, this is what we're given.
Yeah, it's the vessel we have to maintain.
The vessel we have to maintain. Mick, you got to write everything for me. This is amazing.
Well, you can steal that. That's all right by that. So, yeah, you had mentioned the body neutrality. I think that's an interesting way of putting it as well. I like the idea of, maybe today I'm not feeling it, but here I am. Whether you like it or not. Yeah. Look, you've also done some work now. Like, let's talk about content of what you've been putting out there.
It's the content of what I've been doing. Okay, so what happened was I sort of fell into this. I left my corporate job, basically. I was super burned out and tried to figure out, what am I supposed to do? I'm nearly 40. I'm figuring out, I've done all these jobs that I've been pretty good at, but I just don't think I ever chose them for the most part. Opened up a studio at 21 and did dance and theater and music, and that was awesome. That is something I definitely chose. But after that, I started teaching, and then I started into all these other things, and I kind of went, wait a second, like, let's take a moment, because I was really burned out. I needed to figure out what was going on. So I did a lot of therapy and did a lot of just thinking on my own, trying to understand what I really wanted to do. And so this was a cool opportunity. There's a woman by the name of Lydia Reeves who is in the UK, and she began her work in art as a vulvacast experience person, right? Because she had a lot of trauma in her own life on that, and I went, wow, okay. And then I saw what she was doing in the breast casting space. So she kind of moved into other parts of the human, and she also did some penis work, I think, with another population, but it became difficult with assault and concerns with men. So that is one of the reasons why I also don't do other work, because it's a really intimate and also pretty scary experience if you're doing this on your own and don't have that kind of work. So anyway, Lydia was a big inspiration for me. I thought her work was really moving and beautiful, and I thought, oh, that's really cool. Like, let's start doing that, because we see the belly casts and for pregnant ladies and things like this, which is pretty normal. But not everybody wants a full cast of themselves. Some people do, and they'll stay up for a while, and I think that's awesome. But not everybody wants to do that. So I ended up looking at her stuff and went, let's try that. Because this is something that has been such an important part of my life, with binding and trying to find a bra and all these other joys of living. And then realized that it was very therapeutic for me. I cried the first time I did my cast, because of course it broke. So I thought, pathetic fallacy, how beautiful. And I had a really hard time with it. So some people do have hard times with what they're doing in that space. But some realize their beauty, and it's so cool.
Yeah.
So I'm off topic.
Yes, no, that's okay. No, just to kind of bring it back.
What do you do, Miranda?
Right. Yes, exactly. And how do you do it? You mentioned the belly cast. I thought that was very interesting because the first thing that popped into my head as far as the belly cast is the commercialization of that, right? Like, it's not so much the acceptance as the here's a way to make some money and make you feel. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It still has the same idea, but for me, maybe it's my retail background, but I like my versus something that you're doing where it is absolutely more a display and more of a statement than say here, buy this for $49.99. Put it in. You know?
It's not $49.99, no. Everyone. No, but so. It is not a commercial endeavor. No. Of course, people can come to me to make bespoke art for themselves, and that's really the crux of what I do. Is it's the process more than the product. It's really why I'm doing this. It is a really therapeutic experience for a lot of people to just feel safe, and it's been very, very beautiful to see women come to me who are not, they don't necessarily want the piece for themselves. They want the experience.
Interesting.
Of having this done. So it is, and people have come to me who I have no idea. Like, it started with friends, and then it just kind of came to, oh, this is kind of cool, which is really beautiful. And these women trust me with their intimate experiences, right? They're first bearing themselves to me. You
don't get much more intimate than that, do you?
And that's really one of the things of why I left teaching is, students would share so much with me, and I missed that about teaching. I didn't miss marking. I didn't miss the political stuff that happened at the schools. Yeah. But I did really, really miss that intimacy. And so this is the crux of what I do. It's the process of the art. So basically I cover a woman who decides she wants to do this with me in silicone. And then we create like an exoskeleton for her. Yeah. And in that process, we do talk about a lot of important things. So, why are you here? Why did you decide to come to me? Yeah. In that, I try to make people feel really comfortable, and they end up sharing incredible things with me, about how their aunt or their great aunt said something about their arms when they were 12, and now they never wear a tank top. And they always cover their arms. Yeah. It's little things like this, or somebody in the playground, it's when you least expect it. And it's the offhanded comments about someone's body. It's not always, hey, you look big or you look fat, which again, fat is a thing, not a thing you can be. No, but also women who are very thin feel this, right? When you're like, oh, you're so skinny. Yeah. Well, what if I wanted shapely legs? What if I've always wanted a booty? What if I've always wanted these shapes, and you keep saying that I'm like a stick figure? That is just as much impact on someone as is calling them a whale.
Yeah. Look, it's that one line from America Ferrera from Barbie where she just goes on about you can't be this, but you got to be this, and you got to be this. And I can imagine that in that sliver of trying to be perfect that no one ever gets to.
Exactly.
That there's always going to be somebody, and we won't get into jealousy or just their own generational trauma or whatever, whatever it ends up being. But that's interesting that you put that there. And would you say that the therapy is more for you, or is it just kind of a shared?
Yeah. Kind of what it started as, and it is sort of for both of us. Usually, I always feel better about my body seeing other women being like, "Oh, I didn't like this," or "I don't like that." And when you see it from the outside, you're like, "Honey, you are stunning." I really, and then it starts to shape the way that I see myself, to be like, oh, why have you vilified this body for so long?
Questioning your own thoughts and
because it's just a body, and we haven't done anything to earn this other than you eat and exercise, and there's a lot of people out there that eat well and exercise, and your body is still not going to be the ideal, or whatever ideal it is at that time, right? The bodies are very trendy, so it sort of depends on what's going on, and I'm not a part of that. I'm going to show my grays and not wear as much makeup and do all of this because I want people to see that bodies change, and this is normal, and you're not going to look the same forever, and to embrace all of it. I am so thankful that I get to age.
Fair. Yeah, some people don't. Yeah.
And you'd know if I got Botox or filler because my eyebrows work very well.
That's right. Expressive eyebrows all the way across the table here. Look, to piggyback on that a little bit is very interesting because I've really only kind of got the male perspective here. I do sell suits kind of on the side. And it is very interesting to see some of the gentlemen come in and try some stuff on. And some of them are younger, some of them are older. And it's two things always strikes me as being funny. The young gentlemen who do work out and have their Greek
the
God,
situation,
they don't fit suits either.
Yeah,
because they're not designed for them anymore.
No.
And then we've got the gentleman who's my age or older who doesn't realize, much like you said, that bodies change. This one man was adamant that he fit in 34 pants. And, it is what it is. And vanity sizing in male work is also a thing. But it's very interesting that, yes, we just have this idea of what we're supposed to be. And it's day 1 to day 2, you're holding more water. You know what I mean? Like
100%.
Yeah. So that's good. Okay. So look, let's progress on the movie.
Can I say one thing about that?
Yes, please.
The more that we can help women through this, the better everything will be for all of us.
Oh,
right? Because I can't boil the ocean.
No.
Although it's boiling. But that's another topic.
Yes, exactly. That's next week's podcast.
Can you see my ADHD really focused on this? But I think that the work that we're doing really does speak to men as well, right? I want everyone to show up. I want my work to eventually be on a coffee table, and I want young humans of whatever stroke of the binary they're on.
Yes,
I want them to see what bodies look like. I want them to see what they look like, what they're going to look like, the person that they may love eventually. I want that to be for everyone. So the hope is that once we get to a feminist structure and we start dismantling patriarchy, that actually will help men as well. Yeah. So please, dudes, come and see my shows. Come and hang out with us. I know that you've been told not to look at boobs, but I want you to look at them in a non-sexual way. I want you to come and actually think and talk about these things, and it will become much more normal.
Yeah. You just got back from a show in London, 40 Strong.
Yes.
And then there was the Artist Project in Toronto.
Not the Artist Project, but the One of a Kind show.
Okay.
Yes.
The One of a Kind
Artist
show.
Project is next year if I'm accepted. That would be great.
Okay. So a little. So I'll fix that up in post. But you recently did the show in Toronto.
Yeah.
And so.
It's been incredible.
Yeah. So, what's I don't want to use the word success because that's not the art, the goal of an artist, right?
There's been so much success. I mean, financially, maybe not.
No,
but that's again not the goal.
Right.
And artists are starving artists because this is the way we are.
That's right. So you're getting the message out to people. So and look, the risk of trying to sound younger than I actually am. What's the vibe been like?
Okay, we've got two vibes.
Okay.
We've got one, and clutch your pearls.
Yes.
How dare you? Shield your eyes, children. Move away from the booth. And people will take the widest berth away from my spaces because apparently nipples are offensive, and this is a terrible thing.
Yeah.
The other is complete delight. So people are interested and they're asking questions and they're giggling and that is why I'm doing some of the smaller things, right? I'm doing. I did a little collection of nipples that are also wall hangers, like wall art.
We have one. Yes.
Yes, you do. Yeah. So wall hangers, and so I've made some into mushrooms.
The mushrooms are cute.
They're really cute. And when you look at them, you don't really know what they are. And then you kind of look at it again and went, oh my God. And you can see people's faces shift when they realize it's a nipple. And it's really funny. It's like my own personal just for laughs. Right, and you get to see, how are they going to react? Okay, and it's a whimsical way of inviting conversation about breast health, about bodies, about why does this exist? So it's been a really, really interesting experience seeing people react either so excitedly, really getting lots and lots of messages after, hey, I saw you, I really loved what you're doing, keep doing what you're doing. I would love to. But somebody has to buy the work to be able to keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah. Plaster is not cheap, I would imagine.
And it's resin. So the work that I do, the actual casts are in a resin material.
Okay.
And so it's a shell cast. So it's just the front part of the body. So it doesn't also, have the rest of you.
Right.
But the material is great. It's really fun. It's strong. I love hanging out with sculpture artists and learning from them. And I've learned a whole lot from really different areas of life because it has been very multimodal. So when I was at the One of a Kind show this year, this past November, it was wonderful. There was a group of Iranian women who came up to me and they were giggling the whole time. And I thought, what's going on? They're like, oh, we really like your work, but how do you know Farsi? And I said, I don't know Farsi. I speak Danish.
Yeah.
It's been not so useful,
Yeah.
but lovely. And they said, well, Mimi. And I said, well, yeah, that's what my family calls me. I said, oh, actually, Mimi is a term of endearment for breasts in Farsi. And I went, oh my God, in their dialect. And I thought, what a wonderful piece
That's
of kismet.
amazing.
Right? I thought of like,
Yeah.
oh, yes, okay, this is the right.
And
this is the right thing for me to be doing.
Weird, to stretch back to what we talked about at the first, like that it had been an issue. It's a weird. I want to say funny because it's not funny, but it's interesting that from a young age you kind of had this pressure on you, and you were nicknamed Mimi all the time. Like it's so.
Yeah,
that little
it's
bit
just,
of kismet
it works.
It's that's really fun, and I'm glad that there was a little bit of a connection there. It's glad that was able to pull through.
There's little pieces sprinkled everywhere going, you're supposed to be doing this.
Every show you'll get a little extra story, I'm sure.
Can I tell you another story?
Please.
So this is what happened in my recent show, 40 Strong. I had a breast cancer survivor come to me a few weeks ago, and we did a cast for her, and it was emotional and wonderful and incredible. And she's a doctor, so she knows the experience. She's much more aware of hospitals, not as afraid of hospitals as other humans are, because it can be a really stressful experience. So that was awesome. So she came, she had a cast done. Then we scooted over into the show, and she came to London. She came to see the show, and she saw her own cast for the first time, and I got to see her face seeing the cast, which was it's really what I do this work for, is to see people's reactions. And it was so beautiful. And then she pulled down her shirt and showed me a small mark. And people who haven't gone through breast cancer may not know this, but sometimes when you're doing radiation, they will give you a teeny tiny tattoo so that they know exactly where to radiate. And one is right directly in the center of her chest. And when I was doing this piece, she thought that healing was really happening for her through water. So I actually did a piece that was water related. And I was flicking my wrist, and I had made one teeny tiny little blue mark that looked like the radiation mark. And she noticed it, and she saw it, and she said, "Did you know that? Did you remember this?" I did not know that. Listeners, I am not that good. But it was such a beautiful moment where she felt so seen because of this, again,
such a little thing.
It's a teeny little thing, but it was so important to her. And so these kind of connections and these kind of experiences were just awesome.
Yes. The other day you posted something for Red Dress Day.
Yes, I did.
That piece was striking, caught me off guard. The whole thing is, do you think you found, and I'll have a link to the link to it on the website because it must be seen. Do you think you found your medium or a message?
I think I found both. I think what the medium that I'm really enjoying is, because I'm not an artist in the sense of I can draw. I can do a really lovely cartoon. But it's like very one-sided. There's one thing that you always know that Mimi did.
Yes.
But that's where we end. And this allows me to be an artist in a different way. And that piece was because I don't want to sit around, and I want to be a better ally. And it's the piece is not about me. That's the thing, right? This is for a woman called Resilient Inuk on Instagram. Her name is Vanessa Brousseau, and I started to follow her because, I grew up in Sault Ste. Marie, and there is a really large Indigenous population. And we were never given the opportunity to engage in that culture.
No, we were not. Isn't that interesting? I'm going to go off script here for a minute and say, we were definitely, there were almost like unseen borders.
Yes.
You do not
You do not go.
Yeah,
and it's really upsetting because I went to school with so many Indigenous girls and I didn't know. I didn't know the struggles that were happening right beside me, and and also the beauty and just the absolute majesty of the cultural and more religious parts of the Ojibwe culture that we live so close to. And I'm really angry that I didn't have more of that, because I think that I wouldn't have had the struggles that I had with religion, possibly, or my mind and thoughts would have been very different in how I see my body, how I see the land, how I see all of these things. So that's one thing that I'm like, we should have been studying Ojibwe culture. We should have been studying the language. And so that is a thing that I want to do now.
Good.
So seeing friends who are still, and she lost her sister. So I really want to make sure that I can do whatever I can to help other people know that this is still happening in 2024. We need to save more women, but specifically we need to save more Indigenous women. We need to save more Black women. We need to save more women of color in general. There's just too much going on. And so if I can raise my voice to help with that, to let people know that it is still happening. Like, look around you, talk to your government officials. You need to do something. And it's really important that white folks go ahead and do that, because things will get done if we start to raise our voices. And so this is really the intention behind that piece is just to bring awareness and to help drive more information to areas that the people who follow me and people who hang out with me.
For sure. Well, look, I will make sure to supply some links at the bottom, because look, I'm a middle-aged cis white male. Like, I can only do what I've got, and I got to do more, because there's so much to be done.
But you're doing this.
Yes,
and
I'm
that's
trying.
Important, right? I think it's cool.
Give it a try. Give it a shot. You're screaming against the void, but we tried. So look, we kind of ended on a little bit of a down note. Life is what it is. Anything? What's the next step? Where are you going?
Okay, so there's lots of fun things coming up. Actually, a girlfriend of mine is doing a book tour, and so she's going to be in London, Ontario on August 13th. Her name is Terry Hofford, and she is going to be here on her book tour, and I'm so excited. She has asked me to, have a couple of my pieces at her talks. Okay, so nice. Really jazzed about that. That's going to be really cool. There will be some movement classes coming up so that we can bring back the body and talk about how we feel in our own bodies and just move for pleasure's sake, right? Because it feels good to move and not have to worry about all the other things. And then we're going to have some paint nights. So I have some of my casts that I've been able to bring down to a smaller size. Okay. And what we'll do is you can choose the size or the breast shape that looks more like you or it kind of connects with you. Yeah. And we can talk about our bodies and our shame and all the stuff, because the moment we bring that shame to light, it can't fester anymore. Right. So we can have these conversations about our bodies. We can paint yourself, paint your body, and then take that home and remember the beautiful women that are surrounding you and supporting you every time you look at it. Excellent. Miranda, this has been fantastic. Thank you for coming in and chatting with us today. Thank you so much. My brevity is not my strong suit, so thank you for putting up with me. Well, look, we did have to kind of trim it down to about half an hour, though. But like, if there's ever a time when you want to go long form, we can absolutely figure that out. Clearly. Yeah. So look, I will put the links down at the bottom. It's been amazing to see you. It's early, and we all have the rest of the day to get ahead, and it's awesome. But this has been wonderful. Thank you for tuning in to State of the Arts here with Mick. I've had Miranda. Thank you so much. No problem. And we'll talk to you the next time. I'd say next week, but look, this is a podcast that comes out whenever the director decides that the podcast is coming out. So, we're going to try to do it a little bit more, but we will see you next time.